This is the longest-running armed conflict in West Africa. It began more than 40 years ago in Casamance, an area in southern Senegal where culture, history, and struggle are deeply connected. Separated from the rest of the country by the Gambia, Casamance feels distant in more ways than one. Most people here belong to the Jola ethnic group and follow Christianity or traditional beliefs, unlike the mostly Muslim population in the north. For years, Casamance has struggled with underinvestment, limited infrastructure, and a sense of being forgotten by the central government in Dakar. By 1982, that frustration could no longer be contained. That year, a peaceful protest in the city of Ziguinchor was violently repressed. The arrest of Abbé Augustin Diamecoun Senghor, leader of the Movement of Democratic Forces of Casamance, MFDC, pushed the movement toward armed resistance. In 1983, the MFDC formed an armed wing called Atika. Fighters retreated into the forests and a long guerrilla war began, driven by grievances over land ownership, political exclusion, and broken trust. The conflict didn't begin with a single event. It surged in cycles, with violent peaks in 1989, 1991, 1995, and 1999. Each separated by short-lived moments of calm. Each phase brought pain. Some were sparked by violence during student protests, others by economic disputes, or incidents like the punishment of local football players. Over time, these moments left lasting wounds. Ambushes and landmines made daily life unpredictable and dangerous. As MFDC fighters carried out attacks, the Senegalese army responded with force. Civilians were caught in between. Many left their homes behind, and fields went untended. By the mid-1990s, fear had emptied entire communities.
One of the main ethical concerns in the Casamance conflict is the harm inflicted on civilians. According to Amnesty International, both the Senegalese military and the MFDC have been accused of serious human rights violations, including torture, forced displacement, and extrajudicial killings. These acts violate the principle of non-combatant immunity under international humanitarian law. Another concern is the widespread use of landmines. Amnesty International also reports that landmines have left large areas unsafe, making it dangerous for civilians to return home or work their lands. This creates a long-term humanitarian crisis and prolongs the trauma even after fighting stops. A third issue is impunity. In its 1998 report, Amnesty notes that many crimes go unpunished due to what they call a wall of silence, surrounding the actions of both armed groups and state forces. Victims are denied justice, and that lack of accountability undermines the ethical obligation of the state to protect its citizens and uphold the rule of law.
The toll has been immense. Between 3,000 and 5,000 people have died. Tens of thousands more fled, some across borders, others into crowded towns or resettlement villages. Even today, landmines make farming dangerous. In some areas, fertile land remains out of reach, still controlled by armed groups, leaving families cut off from their only source of income. Many displaced people find their way to towns like Ziguinchor, arriving with little, no land, limited training, and few opportunities. Some rebuild like Dudu, a mine survivor who runs a small shop, or Dailika, a clothing designer who rebuilt her life with NGO support. But that support isn't always enough. Some NGOs operate under strained resources and weak oversight. Working conditions can be poor, and there are growing concerns about ethics, transparency, and how sustainable some of these interventions really are. Meanwhile, many others are still waiting, unsure if they'll ever return home. Women and children are especially vulnerable. They face violence, poverty, and emotional trauma. Young people like 16-year-old Birima, separated from family, are forced to grow up in unstable conditions. Beyond the numbers, the conflict has reshaped how people live, what they trust, how they heal, and how they imagine their future. Making peace after decades of conflict is never easy. And in Casamance, the road to real reconciliation is full of challenges. The biggest one is trust. Years of violence, displacement, and repression have left people suspicious of the government, of former fighters, and even of each other. In places deeply affected by conflict, studies show that fewer than 1 in 10 people feel they can trust others. That mistrust makes rebuilding incredibly difficult. Another challenge is balancing justice and peace. Some people want those who cause harm to be held accountable, but pushing too hard for punishment could restart tensions. On the other hand, ignoring the past risks leaving survivors feeling abandoned. The peace process is further complicated by the MFDC's divisions. With multiple factions like those led by Cesar Aturbariat, Salif Sadio, and others, it's hard to create one single agreement everyone will follow.
Still, there are signs of progress. In February 2025, a major peace deal was signed with the Pariat faction, thanks to mediation by Guinea-Bissau's president. That agreement shows what's possible when dialogue includes everyone. Guinea-Bissau, along with the Gambia, has long played a key role in these efforts. They were once used by rebel groups to regroup and move supplies, but today both governments are helping drive peace efforts forward. Since leadership changes in both countries, Senegal has had more space to negotiate with a weakened, more divided MFDC. More than 250 MFDC fighters laid down their weapons in 2023. A strong DDR program, disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration, is now helping them start over, offering jobs, training, and counseling. At the same time, there are calls for a National Truth and Reconciliation Commission. This would give victims and former fighters a place to share what happened, recognize pain, and begin to heal. Cultural traditions like Dayola music and storytelling are helping communities reconnect. The government's new Dayome plan is investing in farming, schools, and healthcare. Over 400 displaced families have returned and more support is on the way.
Restorative justice is another approach. It brings together victims, former fighters, and communities to talk honestly about what was lost and how to make things right. It's about healing, not punishment. Community involvement is key. In Casamance, people often place greater trust in familiar traditions than in formal institutions. Diola-style mediation circles, women-led peace-building spaces, and programs supporting ex-combatants through work and training all help communities take ownership of reconciliation. What matters is that these efforts are inclusive, transparent, and built on respect.
International partners are helping as well, monitoring, funding, and encouraging every step of the process. In conclusion, the Casamance conflict is one of the longest and most painful in the West Africa. It began over 4 decades ago, rooted in deep frustration over exclusion, underdevelopment, and cultural distance from the rest of Senegal. And as we've seen, the impact has been devastating, from thousands of lives lost to generations uprooted and entire communities reshaped by trauma. Ethically, the conflict has revealed serious violations of human rights, from torture and forced displacement to impunity and landmine use. According to Amnesty International, both sides have committed abuses and that continue to affect civilians today. But this story is not just one of suffering, it's also one of resilience and possibility. Women's movements, local traditions, and recent peace agreements show us that reconciliation is already happening, even if slowly. The 2025 peace deal with the Bayet faction and the reintegration over 250 fighters are signs that meaningful dialogue can lead to real change. A National Truth and Reconciliation Commission could help the country face the past, while disarmament programs, youth education, and diaspora engagement build a more just future. Reconciliation won't come from one action or one agreement. It must come from ongoing trust, building local leadership, and inclusive recovery. In the end, peace in Casamance is not just about ending conflict. It's about restoring dignity, rebuilding lives, and ensuring that all communities have the power to shape their own future.